Hey everybody, welcome to another Stoneface Reactions. I'm Griffin, that's Theta down there, and we're reading a book. That's right, everybody. We are reading the Witch from Mercury novelizations and extra bonus content, and specifically the second chapter that is brand new specifically to the novel. That right,
Not
Theta?
not to be confusing, we're not actively reading the novelization itself right now. We're
That's right,
reading
we're
only the
commenting
bonus.
on it.
Yeah, so if you heard that and thought, "Oh wow, let me go check the channel. Where's the rest of the novelization bits?" Doesn't exist yet. I don't know what that was. It was confusing.
I tried my best to improv that, but you know what? Let's go ahead and go do something simple. Let's read everybody's comments. We got Junk Garage who says, "Just watch all of your reactions to this series, and I like the supplementary info you added into them. And this is probably my favorite AU Gundam, and might be even favorite Gundam in general. But due to it being so new and just coming out, I wanted to sit a bit before I go and say it's my favorite Gundam. Currently, it's a tie between G-Wish and 8th MS Team. Character rankings. Yeah, your S rank is close to mine, maybe slightly different order, but you all forgot Eric and Ariel, or I missed it. Who I would put at a high C or a low B. Ooh. What do you think about that, Theta?
Well, we already said that we would put him at an S.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we covered it like right at the end, like right after we finished recording. Oh shit, we forgot Kevin. That whole Home Alone thing.
Oh yeah. So good catch right there. I think we just still like the character for what they are, that they were just our mystery character and finally got solved. I think that's what got us into them the most.
Well, I mean, we
Uh,
solved that a long time ago. Like we had
also,
that solved in season one.
mhm. Also, as far as favorite Gundam, everyone seems to love 8th MS Team, and we got to get around to it one day, don't we?
Well, the thing about that is that Eighth MS team is Universal Century, so we'd have to go through.
A lot of Universal
You don't
Century.
want to jump into the end of the 1 year war and not know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, we got a whole year to go through.
Well, no, you got a lot to go through. If there's one thing that Gundam loves, it's the 1 year war.
hmm Up next, we have Fumikado, who says, "Thanks for the good video. I think it's like the revenge play of Shakespeare's The Tempest, which is said to be the original story, but this time it's a mother's revenge play. Of course, I would have liked to have seen an episode of Ghoul or Shadiq, but I guess it's difficult to do so due to the length of the play. The screenplay was written by Mr. Akochi, a talented writer who was in charge of Code Geass, etc. He did a great job of making it work without losing the direction of Mr. Tomino, the founder of the Gundam series."
You remember that guy who was talking about Zelensky being a new type, a proto new type?
Damn,
That's Mr.
I can't
Tamino there.
I can't get that out of my head. Mr. Tomino, you did a great job with the series overall, but no, don't go that far. Anyway, but yeah, no, I think Akochi actually did a really good job on this, and just thinking about like the way he's done other projects like Code Geass that are character oriented, that actually shines through a whole lot. And I think we did reference the Tempest a whole lot, like the different characters are supposed to be certain people from the play and such,
Well, no, we were
and they
just
kind of fit
thinking
mostly.
we were just thinking that they should be certain characters in the play, though we knew it was
Mhm,
based on the Tempest, or at least themed around the Tempest since late season one.
mhm.
I mean, I didn't start talking about it until middle of season two when I started saying, "Yeah, no one's gonna die. This is based on the Tempest."
I guess like the early parts might be a lot harder to apply anything to. The like later parts definitely seems like, yeah, this is the climax of it. The story one for one, basically.
Well, the theory that it was themed on the Tempest was floating around for a long
Mhm.
time. I just didn't put a lot of thought into it at the time, specifically because I've never
Oh yeah.
read the Tempest.
Join us for our reading of the Tempest next time. Our next comment, though, is Mari, who says, "I think you mentioned this on the last ranking of G-Witch characters videos of what Vim did succeeding of killing Delling.
You missed the word "if" there, which really makes the sentence
Oh,
confusing.
if Vim did succeed of killing Delling.
Which is a lot more understandable than what you said.
Alternative scenarios. Number one. After the death of Delling, I don't think Suletta will have position to become president of the Benneret Group. I think they mean Mjorn. Just because she engaged with Mjorn, or Mjorn taking her place after her father, cause family. Like with Mase said in episode 16, blood alone isn't enough to put you at the top, episode 16. Also, this will will the bride game be removed, like no longer valid, since they have a new president, or am I wrong? Instead of the Benedict Group president will be Sarius, because in the canon story where Delling is in a coma, they put Sarius as a temporary president of the group, unless Vim tries to kill Sarius. We have Suletta arrested because she owns a Gundam. We have a Benedict Group court. Sarius is judge. He'll have the Ariel dismantled and Suletta expelled from school. Mjorn comes to court to defend Suletta and challenges Sarius to a duel like the canon story, but it was her father. Sarius will say this to Mjorn. This was your father's rule, not mine. It's no longer valid. But then the Benedict Group will pressure him to do it since it'll be profitable for them, which he agrees. If not, well, buy Suletta and Ariel. If Sarius is present during the Benedict Group party, episode 7, he wouldn't give a shit about Gundam Inc. Company presentation. Shadiq will still kidnap Sarius in the alternate scenario. So it's got a lot to break down. What do you think about that scenario, first of all?
I'll weigh in after all of it.
Okay, fair enough. Scenario 2. After the death of Delling, there's going to be a presidential election. One's who's running will be Sarius, if he doesn't get kidnapped by his son, Shadiq, Vim, and Master Eland. And 3, after the death of Delling, if Ghoul somehow beats Suletta in their first duel, I believe Prospera will blackmail Vim and tell him that Ghoul should rematch Suletta in a rigged match so Suletta can return to school to continue Prospera's plans. But this is my alternative scenario what will happen if Delling were to die. Feel free to correct me if these scenarios won't be accurate. Sorry for my grammar. So, those are our 3 possible scenarios laid out by Mari. What do you think, Theta?
Well, my thing is that I have my own scenario that I've gone on at length about in the now deleted Gundam Discords, which from Mercury channel. So that place is no longer exists for your gun, which Mercury needs. But again, why don't you tell me first what you think, and then I'll pitch what my alternative was.
Okie doke. I think like our scenario 1 here is the most likely. For this plot to happen, Delling has to be there, Delling has to care about what Bjorn says, and the dueling rule has to be in place, and people have to call Delling out as a hypocrite for not following through if he's challenged. If those things aren't in place, Suletta just gets jailed, the Ariel's gone, and, well, someone needs to do some extra work. Which I think just drops us straight down to number 3, which is Prospera trying to do some blackmailing of Vim because she already has Vim in the pocket. Which, how that goes probably requires an entire screenplay itself, honestly. So that's what I think. I think number 1 here is probably the most likely. Definitely makes a lot of sense.
Alright, my pitch was that episode 1, Vim with the bomb on the plane, as Vim does, is, yeah. All that needs to change is for Ghoul's duel with Suletta to be delayed by like a minute. Literally, we know, because Vim's timing it the entire time about when the bomb should go up. If they don't duel by like a minute's delay, because anything could cause a minute delay. This is all mechanical work. Like, what if the, whatever they're called, those giant boxes they send the Gundams out, the containers. One of those doesn't work right and has to be reset. Right? Bomb goes off. Ghoul is the holder. Ghoul will marry Mjorn, thus giving Vim control of the company. That means there's no election because the rules are already set up by Delling ahead of time, who's now no longer able to shut it all down. Vim is already back and forth with Prospera. He tried to blackmail Prospera. Prospera blackmailed him back. Plus, we already know they're in business together because of the Schwartz. So, everything else basically should happen along the same lines, except for the ending would probably change. Because Vim is going to do whatever he can do to get power, maintain power, etc.
Yeah.
Prospera already following on her plans. Vim is now president. He's got to now know about Quiet Zero because, as Prospera already lets us know to Mjorn, the president is going to know about Quiet Zero. And
Right.
what does Vim do with Quiet Zero? He's probably going to try and use it to get more power. And of course, when he does, and he allows Prospera to build it and use it, obviously that's when Vim's going to die in this alternate scenario as well, because he's just going to fucking die to his own hubris.
Right, yeah. The alternate scenario of Vim on Quiet Zero is Vim tries to take control, thinks I can take on a space laser, and gets exploded. He gets his like last second comeuppance.
Well,
Basically.
I don't even think it's that much. I think it's whatever he's in at the time, when Quiet
Mm.
Zero goes online, gets taken over and blown up.
Oh yeah.
Or he gets digitized or whatever.
All right. Resequence Vim versus Ghoul. Ghoul is aware that it's his father's mech, but Vim is no longer in control of his mobile suit. Therefore, Ghoul has to intentionally kill his father in order to progress to Quiet Zero.
Oh yeah, that would be a pretty good scene.
Yeah.
Vim is out there in his Delanza, and the kids are coming up to shut down Quiet Zero, and Prosper is like, "You've got to stop them," because she hasn't sent Ariel out yet. Like we're in the first stages, and he's like, "No, I'm not going to kill my son," and that's when Quiet Zero takes over the Delanza and forces him to fight Ghoul, and we get, oh god, we haven't seen that scene yet, so we can't talk
If
about.
you wanted the happy ending, you do the Ghoul versus Lotta
No,
ending.
there is an exact thing in a show that we're possibly not going to watch anymore because that
Mhm.
patron is no longer with us, unfortunately. So, but I don't know if I want to describe it because it is the pinnacle of that show. So, take your
Which
headset off real quick, Griff. I'm going to tell the
sure,
audience.
sure. Here you go.
All right. The scene I was just picturing, imagining with Vim and Ghoul. Imagine that one scene from Raz Afon with one of them telling the other one their feelings, except it's father to son. So there you go. You have that entire scene back and forth with Vim unable to stop trying to attack Ghoul, telling him that father to son, I love you, and all that shit before he dies. Let's bring Griff back. He has to notice us first. The real
What's
trick
up?
is that Griff has his headset turned up all the way so he can hear everything being said.
That's why I tried to put it further away from me.
But yeah, I think that would be one of the most amazing scenes in the alternative, uh, Witch from Mercury.
There you go. Uh, so I think that at least covers all of our comments. Theta, let's go ahead and just talk about real quick. The first original chapter in the novelization, real quick. So I went back and reread it because before we basically read a summary. And there's a couple things I remember saying. It's like, well, if only we kind of knew like what this was or like how they were actually impressing upon it, right? And I think the two things that I want to cover real quick are the first chapters, the pilot episode? No, the practice section of the episode, I should say.
Are you
And
talking about
then
where they are tested? Where they're being the test thing?
yeah. Yeah, the first part is like where Suletta and Mjorn are in their little testing chamber, everyone else is there, and it brings up like a bunch of like things in very rapid succession, like the automatic testing that they're doing, Mjorn and Suletta interacting. And I think like it definitely loses a whole lot when it's just summarized because the entire point is trying to go over the fact that the two do not communicate and it needed to be shown. I think like actually getting like the real text of it now to go, oh, this is basically just like an ordinary Witcher Mercury episode right here. This is exactly what I would expect. These two trying to interact early on in the series, like season one. So that comes across a lot better. And we also get information about Choo Choo and Nina and how great they're doing because they actually communicate. They are still a cute couple. The other part is once we get to the carnival and they're doing the duel, we have Nina doing the prime number game, if you remember that.
Yeah.
Uh, And she kind of asks, like, how the hell am I supposed to win this? And then we get, like, this weird summary of, like, well, I guess it's fate or something.
You know,
And we had to spec.
that's the thing I poked fun at or just couldn't figure out. And yeah, I did
Yeah,
reread it too, and it still didn't make sense.
I think it makes more sense in the reread because with the personality of it, seeing Yushira's personality as well, it's far more just like flippant not answering the question. It's just like I don't want to answer your question. I guess I'll wax philosophical for a second so that I can be sassy about it.
Well, my thing is that it doesn't answer the question, and we don't get like a, like if we ever have any conversation, many conversations we have, Griff, where you'll say a thing, and then I'll launch into a tangential conversation.
Hmm.
There's still a point between when my full tangent goes off and what you said, where I still say something that's in regards to what you said. It'll be, oh, yeah, that I can't believe they did X. Well, they did when they were doing X. It was kind of like this other thing, steps down the way. She has no middle point. She doesn't like, how the fuck am I supposed to win this? Well, she didn't go, well, you see, the game is about this, and then fate would determine, blah, blah, blah. No, she just goes in, well, fate is, blah, blah, blah. There's no middle step. She skips the middle step, which would be the whole human bit of the conversation.
I would say just shorthanding, which is okay, but it does at least make a whole lot more sense, like why that comment is there. Uh, but the ch- but that's basically all the observations I have. There's a couple more little things like describing the flight over in more detail, but that's more just fun observational stuff than it is like critical things that could change our interpretation or view of the chapter. Theta, what about you? What kind of thoughts do you have right now?
Well, I'm just gonna read what I wrote, and the fact that it kind of overlaps with what you just said, I
Uh-huh.
don't want to have to specifically pick out the parts, so I'm just gonna read it, and
Yeah, go for
and
it.
hope that it just flies. Our first chapter breakdown was actually based on a shorthand of the transcription and not the full transcription. We had no knowledge of that was the case at the time, and thought it must have just been very poorly written. We've since had time to read the actual thing. For the most part, our original opinions stand, of course, unless the thing being debated changed via context. I feel like I should have said that before your bit, but whatever.
We get around to it. You have your script, keep going.
Well, I just mean that your thing was all about the things that changed via context. So it would have been a good, I'll read this, you say that, I do this.
That requires coordination.
We analyzed the meaning of the pre-chapter quote before the last breakdown. Well, every chapter of the first volume starts with a William Shakespeare quote from one of his plays, clearly playing off of the Witch from Mercury's main theme being taken from the Tempest. So, if we do that this time, we have it in the greater context now. My best guess for this one is less about the quote itself and more the source, as given the play, I would take the context to be in greater context now. My best guess for this one, God, I'm sorry, I just been dyslexic. I apologize to the viewers. You ever do that thing where you read a line and then you go back and you start on the same line again and start reading the same thing? You just get
Oh yeah, yeah.
confused. Anyway, I would take the context to be that all of these people are just being manipulated into the situation that they're in. I want to say I also wrote this before I even read the chapter, so I feel even smarter and more
Yeah.
smug. Well, I mean, before I go on to
We'll
the
be getting into how smart you are very soon.
yeah, I say just after having read the same sentence 3 times. Did you have any thoughts about that bit before moving on?
No, I don't think I have anything to add to it necessarily. Obviously, Yushura is manipulating the scenario in the first chapter, and then we learn more.
Well, I mean, yeah. Well, I just meant specifically on the quote itself or the
Oh,
source.
Oh, on the quote itself, unfortunately, I need to get even more well-read, unfortunately.
But that's what that's what I was taking the context for. I wasn't taking the
Yeah.
context from the quote. Sorry, it didn't come across because I again read the same sentence 3 times. I wasn't taking the context from the quote itself. I was taking the context from the source, which is which William Shakespeare's play it was, and
Yeah.
obviously that one is about people being manipulated into a situation.
hmm it's a good catch, is what I'm going to say.
This chapter also starts off by giving us the definition of mass drivers as they mean it in context. As you might recall, we had some confusion as to whether they meant it as a weapon or a driver for propulsion. As it turns out, they used them as a means of moving cargo containers and shuttles, such as we saw in the second season where stuff was being launched to and from Earth. That really confusing setup when Mjorn was going to Earth, and it just looks like a cargo container just floating down to the surface.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep, those
So
are
that
the
would be
mass
a mass
drivers.
driver, yeah.
All right, do you have any other pre-novel thoughts?
No, I think all we got is the actual new chapter. Let's go over it.
All right, that starts the Twin Lines of Langlands. The first section, Tri-Corporate Conference. In this section, Bjorn engages in a teleconference with Prospera, the CEO of Shinsei Development Corporation, and the 4 CEOs of Peel Technologies. They discuss the joint development project involving Gund technology, gotta emphasize the D. We're not working on gun technology. With a focus on medical applications. However, Peel Technologies requests access to Ariel's confidential technological data for joint development, which Mjorn refuses, stating that Gund is exclusively for medical use. Prospera intervenes and proposes that if Peel Technologies shares all data concerning the Foract, their technology used in the Gund, then Gundarm Inc. will consider providing Ariel's secrets. Peel Technologies withdraws their request to share information for the time being, but suggests using their staff and facilities for future maintenance of the Ariel. After the conference, Bjorn contacts Peel Technologies' shipbuilding division and learns that they are considering using gun technology in the fire control systems for simultaneous attacks on military ships. Mjorn, realizing the miscommunication or lack of intention for joint development, becomes determined to use her social capital to reach out to her connections in the medical group companies personally to support Gundam Inc.'s endeavors.
Yeah, this is setting up what is Mjorn doing with her time, which we don't get a lot of look at during the actual series. I'm pretty sure, given like the chapters that we have here, it's basically cut for time.
I think at some point I address in here which episodes this seems to take place between. Sorry, I also want to
Mhm.
apologize ahead of time. I should have done so up front. I also did my OOF manga episode recording this morning, and my throat was hoarse as hell during that as well. So we're getting me on the back half of a bad throat day.
Ah, there we go.
Well, let me
Uh,
hit you with my first point then.
sure then.
I like that this session addressed Suletta's bullying during the demi-barding test, and that Mjorn knew about it and had found it endearing. It shows that Mjorn appreciates Suletta's weakness and not just her strengths. It's something we see later on in the anime with episode 11's Bjorn chasing down a Suletta full of self-doubt and telling her about her own weakness. But here in
Mhm.
the novelization's bonus section, it addresses it from Mjorn's own perspective.
Yeah, I still think that's very cute. Mjorn still appreciates Suletta for her entirety as a person, not just because like, oh, she could probably win some Gundam duels for me, I guess.
It's the only time we've ever seen Mjorn, or it's the only time we've ever read Mjorn mentioning the fact that
Mhm.
Suletta was crying in a demi-barding wanting to go home.
Yeah. I guess it really goes to show maybe we could have used some more Mjorn time in the show. But this is like the first half of what I'm gonna go ahead and call the Star Wars Senate scene, where we have a lot of stuff going on that does advance the plot, but is definitely not action-oriented drama or anything, right?
Right.
This is where other people probably would have tuned out during an episode.
Well, a lot of the best parts of the show. weren't action bits.
Mm-hmm. Like I definitely appreciate this and a upcoming chapter as well, because it's a view we didn't get to see. It sets up how things are getting in motion, and it does tie back into everything else that's happening. But it is definitely slower paced, more minded about as it says, the connections that Mjorn has and managing those than it is literally anything else. And in a highly professional context as opposed to specifically just school time.
Alright, next bit. I don't know if we ever talked about it directly, but I rather liked how this section also gave away Mjorn's thought process towards the development of Gundam Incorporated. Specifically that she saw it as something to protect Suletta and Ariel. That gives even more weight to the distance that she unwittingly created in episode 10 between her and Suletta, as it was actually her lost in her thoughts on how to do better, or how to better the company's position for the benefit of them, making them the most foremost thing on her mind, but forgetting to express that to the physical person in front of her.
Yeah. Again, harken back to the practice session where they're in the pods. The problem is that they don't communicate well enough, which is basically the critical theme of season 1, right?
I think this is actually kind of best expressed in the first episode of second episode of Zom 100 that we recently reacted to, where you
Oh
see
yeah.
the main character go through this whole event thing, and then the second half of the episode we see the other character that was there, who just seemed aloof and out of place for the whole thing, and their thought process, because they just weren't talking out loud, they were thinking it through,
Hmm.
and it's not what you think it is because you don't know what her thoughts are. Same thing with Suletta and Mjorn, episode 10. Mjorn isn't expressing herself or saying the things, and this is that side of that conversation not being had.
Right, yeah. It's an important perspective for us to have.
Alright, beyond Prospera's connection to Belmeria, we never really got to see her interact with the four Peel CEOs. She goes back and forth with Vim, she gets one over on Sarius and later Shadiq, but never the Peel group on screen. So it's funny to get that here in this section. The reverse therapist getting the Peel CEOs to back off on trying to get Ariel through direct means. We know this takes place after Elin 4 gets uploaded to the cloud, which means that this is the middle step before Elin 5 showing up with their new plan to take Ariel.
Right. I'll probably mention it now. Later on, Mjorn goes looking for people and does not find Elin, and it's like, where the hell is everyone?
But we'll address that when we get there.
Right.
Now that the anime is over, it's funny to think that there might be some person out there still thinking about this one call they had with Gundam Inc. about incorporating gun technology into ships' cannon systems. We know that the Gund tech still exists in the setting, but it is only being used for medical purposes like they originally wanted. Wouldn't take much for this no name from a couple of lines in a bonus novel to turn into a new big bad. Take over the former Peel shipyard once the company got dissolved, get angry at those damn Earthians for taking Spacian livelihoods away, and start a Xeon-style buildup of military ships that they already have designs for, just upgraded with stolen Gund schematics.
The thing is, I would almost see it as a Saturday morning cartoon setup, right? I have to get those Gundams, then I'll create a weapon to destroy the world.
Well, you gotta remember that this guy was apparently in charge of a shipyard, right, for Peel Technologies, and
Mhm.
then Mjorn sells all of the assets to Earth. And now we already had Earthians and Spacians not liking each other. And now this guy is like, did you watch, which was the Spider-Man with the vulture in it?
Uh, it's not No Way Home or Far From
You
Home.
watched it, though, it's the point, right? You watched it?
I actually didn't.
Oh,
The
okay.
one I missed.
The Vulture's whole thing in that movie, anyway, is that
Yeah.
he has this, demolition business or something that when all of the Avengers shit goes down in New York, his company gets hired to, clear the rubble and
Hmm.
collect all the alien artifacts and shit. Well, and then the government comes in and says, no, 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 we've got this. And he's like, well, I've spent all this money on trucks and equipment and manpower. What am I supposed to do? And it's like, that whole thing. We've been fucked over by the government. And then they turn into their own business. Of we're just going to steal this shit then. This shipyard guy, they sold it all out for money. Now I've got all these men here I can't pay. And I got this shipyard still because no one's come to take it from me yet. And I've got the schematics. I've been building warships. What if?
Just get on the PA. Attention, everyone. We are now shifting to crime and military coups. Thank you very much. Continue as you are.
Look, if they could sell it half as well as they sold the Vulture doing it, I would be in. It would be it would be a shift away from school and corporations, but you've got the basis there on this one no-name character from a couple of sentences in a bonus novel that I could pitch.
It would be a brand new series.
Alright, last one for this section. I feel like you'd have something to say on the concept of social capital.
I mean, Mjorn's not wrong. Her entire strength is the fact that she is Delling's daughter, and she can cash that in with people to get them to talk with her or get them to meet with her and try to get in her word and attention onto her projects. That was the entire point of like the business party episode, basically, right? She can do that, she recognizes she can, and then she chooses to actually utilize it instead of trying to completely ignore it and separate herself out from Delling. The business party was her accepting that Delling is not something that she can ignore.
Now everybody knows that I can't look stuff up while you're talking, so I think it's prescient to know that's the episode Shall We Gundam, and that was called The Incubation Party, Griff.
Incubation Party. Oh.
I'm going crazy here reading the same sentence 3 times in a row and stumbling over my words, but Incubation Party from Shall We Gundam.
That's okay, I'll just stumble differently. But yeah, this is, I think, just going on from the incubation party, Bjorn having already accepted her lessons, actually putting her lesson to use here, and then vocalizing it in a way for the reader here because we're novelizationing it. Is that a verb?
Yeah,
it's
maybe.
a verb now.
Yeah. I'm gonna go from being able to recall every episode of Witch from Mercury to not remembering how to brush my teeth.
Yeah. But like Mjorn is also right here. It's like she has it, she could use it. It's not going to carry her infinitely far. She still has to actually know of people and get their attention.
Not going to carry her infinitely far. It's not carrying her anywhere at the moment.
Which we'll see in a later chapter what she does to actually tap into her own connections.
All right. Did you have any other thoughts for that section?
I think we mined that one for all it's worth.
All right. Section 2, Joint Development. In this section, Mjorn is determined to find a company for joint research and development of gun technology with a focus on medical applications. She reaches out to various companies in the medical sector but faces reluctance due to the stigma surrounding gun technology after the Vanadis incident, air quotes for some reason, 21 years ago. Mjorn's policy of prioritizing health care over military use makes it difficult for potential partners to accept the proposal. Feeling frustrated and haunted by her father's words about the curse of Gundam, Mjorn recalls her connection with Yushetas Miruzahani. Am I saying it the same way you read it? Miruzahani? Miruzahani. So. The CTO of Langlands Corporation. Delling, Mjorn's father, has separated them and prohibited communication. However, as the CEO of Gundam Inc., Mjorn decides to contact Yushetas through Langlands Corporation to discuss a potential collaboration. Despite Yushetas being unavailable at the moment, Mjorn leaves a message and eagerly anticipates the possibility of talking to her. In the midst of her business dealings, Mjorn also realizes that she has been neglecting her friend, Suletta Mercury. She tries to call Suletta, but she only reaches voicemail. Frustrated, Mjorn leaves a message, urging Suletta to call her back as soon as possible.
Welcome to segment 2, where we're literally just playing phone tag. But I do like this chapter or segment just specifically because it is where we are starting to get a view into what Bjorn and Yashira's relationship actually is or was, which was the missing part before. We only got Yashira's side saying it's like, oh yeah, I kind of know Bjorn. Yeah, totally. Hey, want to come in my spooky ship?
No
Uh,
windows. Oh, there is windows. They describe windows.
no windows, candy inside, we swear. Uh, but yeah, we're getting Bjorn's perspective on that. That they do actually know each other. Bjorn is thinking fondly about her, and that there's probably even more here to it. We started getting like the uh torn apart lovers thing like last time, like in the previous chapter, and we just had to kind of guess at that because we only had Yashira speaking and only had like distant emotions to deal with. Now it's more just child play dates. That's fine.
I mean, I think I have more to say on that later in the chapter.
It does all come back around. We'll come back to that. But what do you got up on your plate?
It does seem kind of odd that out of 20 companies, at least, and granted we don't know the specifics of any of them, not one was willing to take a chance on Gund Tech, given the very odd and unique situation Mjorn was calling them with. I mean, we know Delling has basically outlawed the technology, but what else do we know? That he is actively ignoring his own ruling on the matter? That he invested in his daughter's company, which she publicly declared to a room full of people would be dedicated to gun technology? That two other companies of the Bennett Group are also looped into this venture? It seems like a real lack of vision to not see the widening loophole in front of you if you are a medical company, which is the one fact we know about the companies Mjorn called.
You know what? I think I might actually call this a difference between Japanese and American business, right? Where I think if you were to consider Japanese business, it's very much a stay the course, don't do anything risky, and they'd be less likely to be on something new. Whereas, like, the entirety of American companies, as far as I know, is to do every single risky move possible and to kickstart everything with $5 and hope you get enough investment capital early enough to just kind of wing it despite you don't have a product. It seems like an entirely different perspective, I think, comparing like Japanese business or big business as is versus entrepreneurship.
My only debate point there
Sure.
is that our main four companies are literally taking risks every corner they can turn.
I think they're calculated risks.
They're
Would be my only counter.
they're calculated risk of creating an artificial person that will die 4 times in a row. That
Oh wait, no, that's
calculated
not even a
risk.
risk. You can kill Elans at any time.
There are literally people that you have to make contracts with. Remember, they were people before they got turned into enhanced people.
Right, right.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm just saying, these are insane risks all these groups are taking. I would say even more insane than diving through the loophole that Delling has created.
Mm-hmm. What do you got for your next one?
Langlands is a real catch-all company by Mjorn's memory, a real umbrella corporation, if you will. If I mean, they are an umbrella corporation by the definition of the term. Anyway,
Oh yeah, yeah, of course.
I couldn't help but think by the initial description of it that they were the people you'd call to come paint your Warhammer 40k figures, but on a mobile suit scale. Then they got so rich off of their future Games Workshop business model that they expanded into other fields.
I just love the way you put that, honestly.
It's what, I mean, literally what they get described as. They're the guys who paint Gundams, and they're like, you know, they made us a lot of money.
Yeah, but like Umbrella Corporations, right? We have the amusement park, we have experimental like liquid metal technology, which we get to see even more of. And then of course we have like the painting business overall too. It's just what there's a lot that this company is doing or has done. It has been reorganized like 20 times by the sound of it.
I mean, yeah, Griff, just think about it. When in history has a painter ever been evil?
Hmm. Yeah, somehow I just can't think about it. But yet I keep thinking of Austrian French painters for some reason. Anyway.
It's funny to bring that up, and with a Warhammer 40k reference too. Anyway, I guess Delling built restrictions directly into Mjorn's handbook that she can look a person up and not be able to contact them, but somehow needs to find a workaround to contact that very same person via a different number. Not saying that isn't like Delling, because we totally know that it is. Handbook probably also has a tracking device in it. LoJacked his daughter.
Yeah, I guess I'll say I don't know how cell phone technology in the future works. It's got me a little confused
Well, we
too.
call them handbooks now. We've gone away from just calling a cell
Well,
phone.
because it's a student handbook.
Well, it doesn't matter though, because remember, Yushura came to school with one as well.
Oh
It
yeah,
seems
she's
like
got her
you.
own iPhone.
It seems like every person in this world is expected to go to school at some point, and then when you go to school, you get issued the handbook you're gonna have for the rest of your life. It's like we don't have phones anymore that are just making calls to the people is the last thing you do on your phone. So we just fucking called them something else now. It's more like a book if you think about it than a phone.
All I can say is I am surprised that the future nationalized mobile phones before railroads.
Do you not remember Roleplay?
Oh gosh, yeah, no, it took over.
Roleplay is the global transportation company that's equal to Benrit. So
Mhm.
they did nationalize. No, they
No, that's not nationalization. That's called monopolization. That's different.
actually I was gonna say globalization.
Unless
It's not nationalization, it's globalization.
unless these are all Delling brand iBooks or something.
We don't know. There's never any branding on them.
Yeah, well, what are our mobile phone choices in the future? Go ahead and put that down in the comments.
We don't know how far into the future this is, since we don't know where Adstella begins and normal time ends. I say that only to indicate that I have no clue how far inflation has gone, or crashed, to be able to decide if Delling is so rich as to be able to toss around 7 billion willy-nilly, or if the economy is like post-World War II Germany, another Austrian reference, and that inflation due to the drone wars has hiked up the cost of everything. I don't know about you, but I remember back when I was in middle school or high school, and the history textbook would show Germans wandering around with what do you call them? Uh,
Wheelbarrows full of money.
I guess wagon, like a little pull wagon. I was trying to remember like what a radio flyer is. It's like a little wagon. Like pulling around little wagons full of Deutschmarks, and the like subtext being, "This is how much it costs to buy a loaf of bread now, because inflation due to the war has just risen the price up of everything and lowered the value of our money."
I'm probably gonna say I'm gonna bet that the people writing it just went with some current place numbers. So yeah, someone throwing around 7 billion is probably still means a whole lot because that's what it's supposed to mean, right?
Well, he expects Mjorn's company to fail, but
Mhm.
he still invested 7 billion, and that's like not something even a billionaire today would do. Just throw around 7 billion to fail intentionally.
You mean that no billionaire father would go, I'm just gonna go ahead and give a small loan of a few $1 million to my son or something?
No,
That would
billion
never
with
happen.
a B. Billion. You're saying they're basing it off of current money. I'm saying billion. Like, I'm gonna give you a what? How many Elons worth of money? Like, I care so little. But the fact that just 3% of the company was 7 billion.
Mhm, mhm. There's a lot of space money, I guess.
Knowing how long it's been since Bjorn was able to see Yushara, and that Delling forbade it, one wonders what had pressed Yushara to go to the school to see Bjorn in the first place. I mean, I still go with not much time left to live, as I said before. But Martin said in the anime, when all of Earth House was heading to see Mjorn with Suletta, can't we just call her? Sorry, also I got that reversed. When heading to see... No, I said right. With Mjorn to see... Sorry, I'm getting... My brain is
I'm
off
just
kilter
watching
today.
you have a stroke of that's all I'm doing here.
It's
I'm just
not...
watching you have a stroke.
It's funny until it happens.
Oh
But
gosh.
no, Bjorn, Martin said that in the background as everyone's leaving Earth House with Suletta to go see Mjorn. He just says right before the transition, can't we just call her?
To that I have to say, yeah, I bet something more is going on, or maybe just Yashura wants to see Bjorn in person.
Like, I think she's dying, but
Mm-hmm.
I also have I understand the conceit of, yes, they could, but then we wouldn't have anything to talk about.
Exactly. It would be dramatic, right?
All right, anything left for this section?
Now I'm all good. Let's go next.
All right, section 3, Yaya Groeneveld. That's probably not how you say that, but I got thrown off by Yaya this time around, so... In this section, Bjorn Rembrandt attempted to contact Yushetas Miruzahani, the CTO of Langlands Corporation, for a potential collaboration. Yashura, while in a zero-gravity dueling arena with Suletta Mercury, the mobile suit containers that Suletta and Yashura were perched on suddenly malfunctioned, plunging them into darkness. Suletta managed to light up their surroundings using her student handbook, while Yashura used the light from her Haru to reach Suletta's container. Yashura informed Suletta that there might be hostile intruders and they needed to escape. They tried to open the containers to access their mobile suits, but the container's controls had been taken over by the intruders. Realizing the seriousness of the situation, Yashura and Suletta prepared to face the intruders and find a way to escape the dangerous situation. Meanwhile, in the spectator lounge, Yaya Groeneveld, Yashura's bodyguard, noticed the intrusion and took necessary precautions to protect Nika and Chuchu, who were present at the dueling grounds as spectators. Yaya instructed Nika and Chuchu to put on their normal suits while she prepared to repel the intruders. As the section ends, Yashura and Suletta brace themselves for the imminent confrontation with the hostile intruders, unsure of the intruders' motives and the danger that awaits them.
I like in this section that we actually have a another little bit of look into the universe. Quote, even in space, crimes happen. Robbing fronts is just a thing that happens. And obviously it's more corporate espionage focused. Because I mean, obviously that's the thing you would be trying to get. You're not gonna steal a whole space station away from somebody and get away with it.
That's what little people think, Griff. You know,
I'm
there's
sorry, I didn't realize I was dealing with a super villain. My bad thing.
there is a pirate in Star Wars that takes over a super star destroyer. You know that the near the second most massive thing spaceship wise, not starbase wise.
Yeah.
Yeah. Their problem is they don't have the materials to keep it up. They're a fucking pirate group. It's like it'd be like walking into the White House and it's like, well, that's not a good example now anymore, is it?
Well, I'm in the chair and I have the phone, but as it turns out, nobody answers to me still.
I mean, I guess it would be like taking over Cuba, right? And then realizing that you're even less able to do anything with it than Fidel was. You know, that's topical references I'm always coming up with.
Oh, of course, of course.
Bay of Pigs, am I right? What were we doing?
How about that Guantanamo Bay, am I right?
I really love that the average age of the viewer on this channel is getting lower, and my references are even more confusing.
Thank everybody come back and watch two old men talk about politics. Anyway.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know what this indicates about me, but due to the fact my first impression of Yaya was formed from the synopsis, reading we did when we thought it was the actual release. I imagine Yaya as a grizzled old man butler kind of person. I guess best example would be Walter from Hellsing. Was quite surprised to find out that Yaya was basically like any other student from the school, at least according to the illustration that came with this novel.
Mm-hmm. What's the character from Gundam Wing that Zex hangs out around with a lot? Knowing, I think.
Yeah, Lucretia, knowing.
Yeah, that was kind of my first impression of what Yaya was like.
I love that. Sorry, they're my favorite couple in Wing. Of the of the 3 to 4 couples.
The only one that happens to have chemistry, right? Anyway.
Well, yeah, because episode 1, she's like, they're doing the back-to-back thing at the bar, talking to one another, and she's tapping the end of her sword against his sword, or scabbard to scabbard, rather. Like, I got a thing for you, Zex.
Yeah. But no, like, my first impression was literally just, like, shove Noin into that situation. Like, okay, we got, young adult woman, combat trained, and then easily just rotating Choo-Choo at will.
I mean, Noin was so proactive and outspoken, though, that I don't think I would ever have that mistake.
Yaya personality-wise, definitely different.
I'm saying Yaya has the demure of a like old-style British butler, which is why I imagine, say, like Walter from Hellsing, and did not expect, oh yeah, tiny little girl. Yeah, of course, why not?
There you
go. We kind of get blue-balled onto the whole mobile suit duel thing. I don't even mean from the aspect of it happening, but rather we cliffhangered on Suletta looking into the containers and expressing surprise at what she saw inside. Then, not only do we not get told what was so special about what was in there, opening the containers is just impossible. So unless we run back inside the amusement park next chapter to retrieve them for something, that's just a narrative dead end.
Yeah, I'll definitely say I was expecting them to probably get into the mobile suits and make their escape that way, or like fight off the intruders doing so, but it doesn't operate, and I think the reason is because they want to follow through with the Yushetas stuff that's about to happen. I don't think it happens literally right now. It happens like in a minute.
The ability to turn on and off the lights to a place that is over 10 kilometers long has to feel next to godlike. Though we did get some more rare insight to Mercury, although the whole power disruption is common bit, which can't be great for life support issues, mostly in keeping temperatures balanced and oxygen, but I guess since we've been seeing mining experiments also happen, like Cradle Planet, that you also wouldn't want to be on actual life support either.
What do I say about this? Surviving in space is hard. They're putting on their spacesuits. They're at least prepared for an emergency.
Right. But I mean, even like military installations here on Earth have like grounding to be able to withstand an EMP pulse from like what you would expect from a nuclear blast. So
yeah,
the fact that Mercury is still just susceptible to every little thing.
At the same time, like solar flares are more complicated than that.
Right,
when you don't have a magnetosphere.
They're also relatively directional. That's why we're not being blasted by them constantly here on Earth. Whereas, so that would make them rarer than not. Whereas she says they are common, not the electromagnetic blasts from the sun. Whatever we were saying. She's just saying power outages are common. Power disruptions are common.
Honestly, it sounds like they just want to hype up Suletta is from a Death World and just takes everything with ease. But you know what? We got to get the Death World story.
But she doesn't take everything with ease. Not even normal stuff.
Okay, as it turns out, living on a Death World leaves you with trauma and anxiety, like Suletta.
I wish this had been released closer to the start of Season 2. The introduction of intruders that hack into fronts and front security measures would have been nice to have fresh in the mind when Shadiq launched into his operation to kidnap Sarius. At the very least, it would have served as a preparatory comparison rather than a post-series finale one.
Oh, you know what it also would have helped with? The finale where Earthhouse decides to go ahead and do a front infiltration on Quiet Zero.
True.
See, yeah, we could have had like more build up to that as like a thesis, like, hey, let's do a robbery like the ones we foiled before.
Yaya, though effective, is a horrible person to have around people that panic. Choo Choo can see how worried Nika is and tries to calm her down with words and reassuring looks. Yaya just destroys all that with an instant dose of the truth.
Yeah, Yaya is not good at handling feelings, apparently. Who would have guessed?
Yashura's pain and inability to keep standing in this section is really pushing my she's not long for this world narrative.
Mm-hmm. Right, and that comes on to the critical point of why aren't they in the mobile suits? Well, because we're gonna get some Suletta taking care of Yashura real soon.
Front robberies is an insane undertaking if you consider how large a bunch of these places are. At the same time, if you recall Plant Queta, the place where they were building Quiet Zero, and thus one would think one of their most secure facilities had what? 4 to 5 mobile suits defending it? With a Dominicus force maybe 10 to 15 minutes away? I guess that's the equivalent of having private security and also relying on a cop call response time.
Mm-hmm.
That's still that still implies super stealth or massive pirate groups are robbing fronts that are larger than some small countries.
I guess 4 mobile suits is what they expect for a front robbery. Whereas they got a whole terrorist attack with like 12, wasn't it?
Well, no. Well,
Yeah.
well, remember, because they hijacked a thing that was shipping jet
Yeah,
turret
yeah.
mobile suits.
They use that to get in close, to get an
And
extra surprise on everything.
I would also point out this is the source of the comment that I made during the manga review. About 10 kilometers is larger than some countries here on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
So you're basically trying to rob an entire country at that
All
point.
you need to do is get a golf cart and you can cross it easily.
Sure. Go to Peru or Chile and try that.
I'll get a golf cart in Chile, sure.
Anything else for this section?
No, I think we're good.
Alright, section 4, Lapis Garden Underground section. In pursuit of Yaya, Nika, and Choo Choo, oh, sorry, I forgot to enunciate the comma. In pursuit of Yaya, Nika and Choo Choo navigate through the waitlist sections of Lapis Garden, guided by the projection of their helmet visors. They reach a sub-control room for emergencies, where Yaya detects intruders on the surveillance cameras. The intruders seem to have breached a cargo hatch, and Yaya activates the capture security using a magnetic fluid called ferroslime to trap them. Meanwhile, Suletta and Yashura, having changed into their normal suits, by the way, I'll bring it up there, move through an artificial gravity section of Lapis Garden. They come across a magnetic suspension reactor, which Yashura reveals was a historical innovation in her family's company. Yashura suddenly collapses, and Suletta rushes to help her. The Haru embedded in Yashura's Haru stick instructs Suletta to give Yashura medication, and Suletta, feeling honored to be considered Yashura's friend, administers the tablet. Yashura falls asleep, and Suletta decides to defend the area until she wakes up with the help of the Haru. Just my real quick interjection here that I was going to say before. When they say
Sure.
normal suits, what are you imagining?
Regular spacesuits.
That's what I was
Not
thinking.
not like a pilot suit or something.
Well, I think episode 12, was it? Delling turns to Mjorn and says, "Why aren't you in your suit?" or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or in your normal suit. He said, does he say normal suit?
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. Just a thought when I was reading it there. Does normal suit mean their normal clothes? Because
Uh,
why would you switch from an already spacesuit to another spacesuit? What would the benefit be other than suddenly taking your helmet off in a dangerous situation?
I guess I pictured them just in their school uniforms, not in a spacesuit before.
I thought they changed for the duel.
Hmm. Maybe. Maybe for the duel. Let's see. The two things I'm thinking of here right now. The first is the Haru is definitely just looking at the contact info and seeing that Yashura friended Suletta. That's literally it. And Suletta's reading way too much into it, like 100%.
It's hard to
I don't think.
tell. Remember, because they have a Haru that does emotional support at the school, so it's entirely possible they're capable of high-level thinking.
I still think it's just a user setting. And he goes, "Hey, you're on the contact list. You are safe to trust with asking for medicine." But yeah, it's still cute regardless. The other thing is like I think we briefly skipped over it. The intruders are stopped by Pharaoh slime. They're like slimed up and stuck to the wall, and it hardens up and all that. And I'm
I
just thinking,
I said they were
oh,
activates the capture security using a magnetic fluid called Pharaoh slime to trap them. I said.
okay, sorry, yeah, it just went by quickly then. Uh, I think this is a reason why this chapter can't fit into the main series. Why does it get an anime episode? Because then we'd have to explain later. Well, why didn't we just use that at a later point? Why didn't you just bring like a Pharaoh slime bubble and like throw it at the Harus that were shooting at you in the final episode? Why didn't you ask Ysura to come help you?
Well,
Where are
I
they?
don't think that. I think, however, the series of bonus chapters ends is going to have to answer that.
Oh yeah, yeah,
More so, the whole what you just said. Why didn't they just call? Because they can't. Because something bad's going to happen at the end.
yeah. I mean, that's the thing with like all prequel esque stuff. Like, isn't it? It's like you know that it's gonna have to come to the status quo that we've already read. So, what terrible thing is about to happen? You sure is gonna die.
I mean, it's possible for some things more so than other things. Like, yeah,
Hmm.
you watch like a prequel thing and it's like, oh my god, they're in danger. Oh wait, no, they have to live. They've seen the whole show. Um,
Gosh.
Otherwise, you have other things like, did you know there was an entire comic run between the end of Wrath of Khan and Voyage Home?
Oh gosh.
Or no, yeah, yeah. There's a whole comic run between those two. Sorry, I was getting mixed up there. I was trying to think of a Search for Spock and Voyage Home, but that whole bit doesn't matter. But they basically go on adventures. They go back to Earth, get promoted, demoted, etc., and then they have to reset when the next movie comes out. Because remember, this is all made before the next movie. That says, "Oh no, they've been trapped on X planet for so time." While Spock remembers who he is, and they have to create a little mini adventure in the comics to reset all of the story that they've done since the last movie
Yes.
to put them back into a place where they're going to be at the start of the next movie. And you got to remember, between the two movies, there's supposed to be like no time at all. So they got to do
Mhm.
time travel, memory related stuff, alternate universes. They got to pull a whole bandwagon out of story writing. And by the way, it's amazing and it's worth reading because they do an amazing job. And I'm saying, if you imagine all of that shit can be done in that much of a little space, it's possible to do a story where, oh my god, how did they die? I know how this story ends. They're still alive. Well, I guess there's still 40 minutes left in this movie.
I guess what's the phrase I'm thinking of? You can do anything you want as long as it doesn't matter.
I think your investment makes it matter more so than it not mattering in the story
Oh,
itself.
oh, of course, of course.
You can't get rid of investment, said Delling to the rest of the corporation. All right, thoughts. This
uh
is pre. I just realized reading this out loud, you don't want to put the word pre next to school and shooting in the same sentence. This is before the school shootings and before Planet Quaja. So I like to think that they took into account that Choo Choo didn't have come to grips with the possibility of actual combat yet. She's hesitant at first, even while putting on a brave face for Nika. But this has the chance to be actual danger from before we've seen them encounter actual danger. Like the difference between the trials in early My Hero Academia and the attack on the students in the training facility. If something in a manga chapter had happened to them before between those things.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's the build up in establishing where is our character right now.
Despite how violent the prologue was with intruders and all, I like that this bonus material also indicated that work is being done on less than deadly countermeasures. Remember when Cathedra stormed Folk Wagner and just started shooting from the airlock onwards?
Yep.
Imagine if the hallways had this Pharaoh slime. Would have at least stopped the people with the guns and bought the people inside time to consider what to do about the ships and the bigger bow.
Oh yeah. I think it's always good to remember like the context of security, that there's no such thing as like a perfectly secure system. It's all about buying time for other things to happen, like being able to wait for the police to arrive while someone tries to crack your safe or something. So a measure like Pharaoh Slime, A plus. It does exactly what it needs to.
Well,
It stalls people out.
especially on a front, like I said, if you could isolate the airlock,
Mhm.
they've got nowhere else to come in.
Yeah. The fact that fronts in this universe can expect people to come and help is itself already miraculous, honestly. But we'll go ahead and put a pin in that for the
Well,
future.
they've got a solar, not solar system wide. They've got a orbit wide. I guess because they've got the four Lagrange points, it would just be basically Earth's orbit because we don't see
Yeah.
them going anywhere else. An Earth's orbit wide security in Dominicus. Because remember,
Mhm.
that's what Ghoul wanted to be, a big Dominicus ace when he got out of school.
Right. I guess if it's all happening in Earth orbit, we can have our different expectations.
Well, not everything is Earth orbit. Like I said,
Yeah.
Lagrange point 4 is what? Counter Earth orbit.
Hmm.
And then you have the two before, not before, in front of and behind Earth's rotational orbit. And then the
Right.
one that's weirdly between Earth and the Sun. I don't understand that one. Look, I've never actually read anything on the three body problem, so I don't know how it works. I just know that it exists.
All I want to say is people smarter than us have tried to solve it and haven't.
Right. So it's just places within Earth's orbit that apparently Dominicus has bases that they can quick respond to from.
Hmm.
I get the feeling Kanaji and Yushura have the same opinion about gravity.
What was Kanaji's opinion?
That he's fat and he doesn't like gravity because of it. You don't remember it?
Oh gosh, yes. Oh, you're
When
right.
Mjorn's little shuttle to Earth, Kanaji comes out and says, "Put on a bit pounds. Earth's gravity doesn't agree with me."
Meanwhile, Yashira is just obviously infirm in some specific way.
Right.
Same difference, though. But
Yeah.
then,
Have the same opinion about gravity. We might not know how advanced the power generation tech is in Stella currently, but we know that we are 5 generations removed from magnetic suspension reactor being the newest tech, so anywhere from 100 to 150 years ago.
yeah, I mean, what's the last big power generation breakthrough we just had?
I don't know. It's not cold fusion, I know that.
It's not cold fusion. Technically, we could probably say like maybe about a week ago, actual room temperature superconductors, but that's yet to be like completely fully clarified yet. So we'll come back to that. But before that, what would it even be? I guess literally nuclear power,
Well, I mean,
solar power, I guess maybe, or
we made
wind.
the distinction between fusion and fission. One of those was a technical upgrade from the current nuclear power we were using to a
Yeah.
cleaner form of it, because one emits water and one emits nuclear waste.
Hmm.
But no,
Uh,
this wasn't based on our actual. My numbers here weren't based on the actual history of power generation. It was based on the fact that she says that her grandmother's granddad did this, and it's like, okay, that's 5 generations back. How long was a generation?
oh
X
yeah.
number of years times 5, 100 to 150 years ago. there's a gap there because it's like 20 to 30 years. So
Right.
just went from both sides of the spectrum.
Yeah, it's just putting in your mind like, oh, this is actually kind of an old thing.
Yeah, which means that this power generation system, which is still sci-fi to us, is still 150 or 150 years in the past for them.
All I'm thinking about now is that one episode of like Cowboy Bebop where they try to track down like a beta player.
Well, first they track down a VHS player and then find out it's the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And then he kicks the entire place, and the guy's like, "Oh no, all my stuff." Yeah, because it's also a Coruscant level thing, like going down deep into the past. But yeah, no. Also, 100 to 150 years ago, if it's at the further end of 150 years, that means it takes place in the current timeline and not in the Ad Stella timeline.
Ooh.
Well, remember, Ad Stella is what, 121 right now?
You got me on the number. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, we'll just assume that it is. If it's not, it doesn't matter, because the point being, it's still within, give or take, that area. Well, actually, I guess technically it's 124 right now, because the show's over, and we had a 3-year time skip. But, point being, if it's 150 years ago at the furthest out, 124 Ad Stella means it happens before Ad Stella. So if they,
Yep.
one, use another term, like BC for us, or that's just the old timeline of before the drone wars, maybe? I don't know. Would you think we would
Yeah.
change the calendar for a global war? No, we didn't twice.
Maybe.
We didn't do it
We
twice.
didn't do it twice. Why the third time, right?
All right. I feel like Yoshura and Roji's Haru are probably classified as medically necessary. Roji clearly uses his as an emotional support device, whereas
Mhm.
Yoshura is an all-around support device. Second coolest Haru I've seen so far in Gundam. If it could project a humanoid hologram of itself, would be easily the top Haru.
I just love you bringing that up again. It still gives me a giggle.
Look,
But yeah, no, these
we're not
Harus are serving a
abandoning
purpose and doing it well.
we're not abandoning Gundam at any point. So it got to keep bringing up every other bit of every other Gundam we've ever watched, right? It's not my
All right.
fault that IBO wasn't filled with nonsense like this. It was filled with stupid shit, granted, but not holographic Pokemon Ball Haru.
All right, you know what blew my mind recently? Someone brought up like Harus in their kill count and like Double O Gundam. And what blew my mind is that they showed me the Haru for Lock on Stratos, the orange one. And it has arms and legs, and it blew my mind. Like it has little arms and legs that can pop out of it.
Granted, I think that was just someone's fan art. So
It could be, but I still went, oh my gosh, if those are real. If
well,
they could just walk around the whole time.
you also might have noticed it was holding a knife. That's why I think it was joke fan art.
No, that's just putting a knife on your Roomba, which is also the context of that conversation.
I'll point out that the Haru I keep referencing, Hanyo, is technically not a Haru. It's a Haru-like device, an all-purpose Haru-like device. I believe is how it's described, which technically makes it not a Haru, because you don't call a Haru Haru-like. You call
It's an
things that,
off-brand Roomba, we get it.
well, I'm saying you don't call a Haru Haru-like. You call things that aren't Haru Haru-like. That's why a thing that's like a vampire isn't a vampire.
Mm-hmm.
That's that is a Count from Sesame Street reference. If you could figure that one out. The Count, according to official Sesame Street Bible shit, is the Count is vampire-like, and it's as far as they're willing to say. Well, if you're vampire-like, you're not a vampire, because then you just be a vampire. Anyway, Yoshura's condition was either exacerbated by stress or gravity. That or she's just getting worse. I would honestly be surprised if she survived this bonus chapter series. Knowing the show's theme, she likely will, but since this isn't the anime itself, who knows if the gloves are off or not?
Oh, we're gonna have some fun finding out, and we're definitely getting somewhere by the end of this chapter. That's all I'm gonna say.
Any other thoughts for this section?
For this section, no, I think it just goes by pretty quickly.
Alright, Section 5. Suletta Vanished. Mjorn is looking for Suletta but can't find her anywhere. She visits the dueling committee's lounge and encounters Cecilia and Lotta. Cecilia taunts Mjorn, but Lotta informs her that Suletta hasn't been seen since the last duel. Mjorn tries to leave but is asked by Lotta about the whereabouts of his brother Ghoul, who is missing as well. Mjorn insists that she doesn't know, and Lotta seems worried about his brother. Mjorn receives a call from Martin, who urgently informs her that something significant has happened and asks her to hurry back to Earth House.
Yeah, this is like a quick one scene thing, right?
This would have been a perfect point for Martin to become a detective.
I do love name checking Tycho and Brahe earlier, the goat and the yak, which is very funny. But yeah, this is, I think I briefly mentioned, this is where Bjorn comes in, asks where everyone is, and everyone is missing because Ghoul, I think, has been kicked out / is running away, if I recall right at this point. Elin is dead, and, well, Shadiq is being Shadiq, really.
Well, one of the Elins that existed at that moment are dead.
I think, like, if this scene were in the anime, this would be, like, a critical point of going, oh, hey, things are changing. This is, like, highly dramatic. Even though it's just, like, a brief couple seconds, I think it's, like, a good mood setter. For, like, the overall narrative. But in narrative, it's literally just Bjorn interacts with, very briefly with Lotta. They get to demonstrate, like, their enmity, which comes back a season and a half later, right? And then, of course, she gets to move along with the plot. It's very simple and straightforward as a scene.
It did seem laughable that Mjorn would look for Suletta where the animals are kept, but beyond Earth House members having a schedule for caring for them, we also know that a few episodes from the point this takes place, Suletta does try hiding from Mjorn behind some animals as well. Remember episode 11? She's hiding behind a cow or something?
Oh, yeah.
I think this is also the first shot of jealousy that we've gotten from Mjorn as well. Despite her telling Suletta to go on dates, she considers that Suletta might have gone off to see Elin and rushes a bit more.
Yeah, it's very cute. It's the realizing that you care about someone kind of deal.
I love that Cecilia got burdened with the tag "the Effer sofa bound."
Oh gosh. No, it's too accurate. It's too accurate. I don't think she stands up the entire series.
She does.
She
Multiple
does?
times. Yeah.
Must have blinked.
She's standing up in the last scene with Ghoul and Elin. She's standing up when she confronts Suletta about if she's changed or not.
I do feel like this interaction tells me she could have been a bigger character.
She's standing up during the school shooting when she warns everybody to get out.
Doesn't take her command seat.
We also get a bit of hypocrisy from Mjorn here. Lotta can be annoying with his clear contempt for Suletta and Mjorn, but as Mjorn herself points out, isn't going to waste his own time with lies. He answers her questions to the best of his ability, with nothing to gain from it. When Lotta, who has all the same concern for the fact his own brother is missing, that Mjorn has for Suletta being missing, asks her about it, instead of just telling him, she asks him why she would know. Lotta's responses may have been insulting, but they were also direct to the point. Bjorn is drawing it out and being dramatic. One could see his final response as an answer to that drama.
Yeah, this is Mjorn literally throwing back Lotta back at him. Because that was the answer she got before. So she read into it, felt the emotion, then felt slighted, and then, like a teenager, just kind of snidely threw it back.
My whole point
It
here,
makes
though,
sense.
is that it isn't throwing Lotta back at him, because my response here is that Lotta was insulting but direct. He answered her question and insulted her in the same sentence. She literally, I can't remember what his exact words were because I don't have it open in front of me, but he's basically like, why would I know where that wench is at? Or something like, that's not it either. Like I said, he directly answers her, is my point. Whereas she just asks him a fucking question and stares him down or some shit, and it's not the same.
It's teenage drama is what it is. It's everyone being very mean to each other for no reason other than, I guess I just don't like them.
I guess my point is more so that she thinks to herself, this kid is insulting and doesn't like us, but at least he's not going to waste his own time. It's like a matter of respect, right? At least I know he's not going to fucking lie to me. And then, with that respect understood, walks away and then doesn't give it back to him. Why would I know where he is? I think his statement's more like, I wouldn't know where they are, with the insult trailing into it, understandably, meaning that I don't keep track of people I don't like. Whereas hers is more, why would I know? Which is an open statement leading to questions.
Hey, now, are you telling me Bjorn can be, like, slightly mean, off-putting, and fail to communicate directly? Say it isn't so.
Baka! Yeah, there is a not culmination, there is a bunch of stuff put together of Bjorn calling Suletta an idiot constantly in every scene. Compilation. What did I say?
Something different.
Yeah, there's one of those of Bjorn calling Suletta an idiot in every scene that they're emotionally attached in. Like every happy scene, she calls her stupid in some form or fashion.
Yeah, she's angry girl personality. She has some slight character flaws. This is just it on display, right?
Well, it goes to my narrative that I'm always siding with Lotta in most things. So this is just another one where I think Bjorn was in the wrong, and Lotta, despite being an insulting person, still had the same amount of care being represented and wasn't respected for it.
Right.
All right, next section.
Yeah.
Section 6, An Unforeseen Call. Bjorn receives an email from Grace Chain, a representative from the Chain Optics Research Institute, requesting cooperation for a performance verification test of a space telescope they are developing. The email includes a financial proposition and suggests a potential partnership between Gundam Inc. and the Research Institute. Bjorn discusses the email with her team at Gundam Inc., and they decide to proceed with the video call to learn more about the opportunity. While preparing for the call, Alaya, one of the team members, performs a divination and predicts that the project will go well. Bjorn receives a call from Yushetas? Is that how you say it? I don't know how you've been saying it. Yushetas? It's clearly got an as at the end. Yushetas. Yushetas Miruzahani, the CEO of Langlands Corporation, who is interested in discussing a potential partnership with Gundam Inc. He mentions that Langlands has also been in talks with J-Turk, another major company in the Banner Group. Bjorn clarifies Gundam Inc.'s intention to use gun technology for medical purposes only, and assures Yushetas that they will not give away the technology to just anyone. Yushetas suggests arranging a formal meeting to discuss the partnership further and reconnect as old friends. Bjorn agrees, and the call ends on a positive note. So yep. I think the more I talk, the more my tongue expands out in my mouth, and it's harder to say things like it.
Yeah, we gotta get you through this. But this is part 2 of the Star Wars Senate meeting, where it's important, it's pushing the plot forward, and we get lots of good characterizations, but it is definitely drastically different pace from everything else, and if you weren't invested into it, you're probably not getting through this chapter, because it's actually one of the longer ones here, now that I'm looking at it. It's like 6, 7 pages? Maybe 8? But it is really good. We get more of that background that we were looking for. What is Bjorn's relationship to these twins?
I think,
how do they know each other?
Sorry, just interrupting. Like you said, 6, 7, 8 pages. I think it's worth noting that the way that they've written this is that every new addition to a conversation is its own line. So there are no paragraphs where people just talk, and they talk back and forth to one another. So every time someone says something new, new line, new line, new line. So it really expands out the material.
It's still a lot more text regardless than other chapters. Like the one we just read previously was like page and a half.
Right, but we haven't referenced the size of any section before. So out of context, you might think that this is a super long thing when it's actually like two words together is a line sometimes. So
It's a little bit longer. Anyway, I do like the relationship that they're building here with everyone, and of course, it seems like Yusheta is exactly who Mior needs right now. She needs to get back with these old friends of hers, relive her life outside of Delling's entire bubble, and continue forward into the future. Like this is all nice and hopeful, and of course, like with the addition, like casting the fortune beforehand that everything will go well, is really good. We do get kind of the double off with the research institute earlier because like we shift from like that being the focus over to the new communication that they end up doing. What are your thoughts?
since this all seems to happen between episodes 9 and 10, it might be possible this email might be one of the reasons Mjorn is off and about. At the same time, they are developing a set of legs by episode 10, so it seems unlikely that the optics contract went through, being that they end up going in the completely opposite direction. At the same time, Aaliyah predicts success, and she's never wrong, even about things she knows nothing about, so who knows?
The research institute probably has more things under its belt, is going to be my guess.
Uh,
Maybe it starts off with the eyes and it transfers into the legs
well,
later.
no, remember the entire point was that they wanted to use it for spotting asteroids as they're approaching fronts or meteorites or something like that.
Yeah, stuff like
It's
that.
literally for telescope technology. So,
Mhm.
and it was such a small amount of money, the contract, that they even mention it, that it would only be for that optics thing.
Mhm.
No, nothing else?
So,
Okay. Sorry, I thought you had more to say.
I said what I had to say.
Given the quality of the commercial they produced, it's kind of funny to think that they'd be able to clear out, clean up, and assemble a video conference area in a quick amount of time. Their video editing skills are on my level, as far as I know, and they are hundreds of years more advanced than me.
Honestly, a bunch of high school teenagers picking up whatever software is available and putting together some sketchy little video. Yeah, no, that checks out in any time period at this point.
Yeah, but
From
they're
this point on into the future, there will forever be teenagers who are just getting used to the software and making something that looks terrible.
yeah, but again, their free software is 150 to 200 years more advanced than mine. So,
Look, all I'm going to say is Blender can get more and more advanced, but that's not going to make it easier to understand.
I think that the little pop-up Haru on the side of says, "Hey, I see you're trying to do X. Do you need help with that?" Is probably going to be easier to work with than what
And
YouTube videos I'm going to look up right now.
you say easier to work with, but Theta, you've already minted one. You don't look for those YouTube videos, and two, you'd probably click close on that Haru and go, "No, I'm doing it myself."
What are you talking about? That Haru is probably like Star Trek level where I could just talk to it. Yeah, yeah. Could you put like a person right here, right where I'm pointing? I'm saying if it was like built-in level of just AI talking to it and being able. Remember, this is the AI system that can judge thousands of school students at once. So who
Oh
the
yeah,
hell
yeah,
knows what they're capable of doing?
right, of course.
From moment one, we know Yushetas is up to no good. He claims to have talked to Yushura when we know that Yushura is asleep in her amusement park while the place is being invaded, really not leaving a lot for us, the readers, to doubt. Feels like it would have been clearer or cleaner to just say he got the message from reception that she had called earlier.
Yeah, but of course, you're writing the story. You go, I want to tell the reader ahead of time something is up, and I think it's good foreshadowing for literally what is about to happen.
I don't know. I think it would have been
What
easier. It would have been better, rather, to have that end of the chapter thing of, but he's the bad guy? You know, why did he do
Yeah.
this thing?
What's funnier is considering when does he take the call? Where is he? Is he literally going to be like in his mobile suit taking this call as he is approaching? That's what I consider funny.
Well, I mean, you already know the answer to that question.
Yeah.
So, and I don't remember exactly where it happens because I'm working with notes, so I can't comment right now. Don't want to break that wall. Given that we know who the top 3 companies are in the Benner Group at this time, it strikes me as odd that management strategy classes would debate the who's who of Langlands Corp. It's not impossible to think that they might be company number 4, but it just feels unlikely. Even so, given Mjorn's closeness to the issue, it kind of feels like projecting.
You said it's like a class topic. I thought it was like implying it was gossip between people who are doing the courses.
No,
Like
that's
the students are
wait,
like, "Hey, you heard about that company?"
wait. That's exactly what it is. I think you misread
Okay.
what I said. It out
Okay,
of kind
okay.
of. They describe it as the people in management strategy classes are discussing it. I'm not
Mhm.
saying that they're teaching it in management classes. I'm saying that the kids in management class. Apparently, the engineers don't talk about this, and the pilots don't talk about this. And the only descriptive word I had on hand is the
This is from
management
Bjorn's
strategy classes.
perspective.
No, they said strategy classes.
Yeah, that's from Bjorn's perspective. Those are the classes she goes to. So that's her experience with it as she is relaying it to people
Well, no,
or
no.
to
As we
the audience, I
as we've
guess.
already as we already literally just said, only the management strategy classes students talk about this, but everybody else hangs out all together. All of Earth House is a bunch of management engineers and pilots, meaning that they don't talk about it amongst themselves as a collective group. It's just the management kids.
We do have Nika who comes up and says that she knows a whole bunch of stuff and is really excited when she starts seeing stuff in the previous chapter, if you recall. So the information's out there,
Right,
apparently.
but we also know specifically Nika cares about the engineering shit that Langlands is doing. She's not having the who's who discussion about
Yeah.
who's in charge.
If we were to like compare and contrast, like if Double Fine started putting out like another video game, I'd be talking about it to other people who are interested in video games, and then I might bring it up in conversation with someone else.
I don't know. This really feels more like it'd be like, okay, um, we could talk about the top 100 businesses as business students, but everybody at this school is only talking about these 2 people from this indie development company who's only produced 3 games. That's the level of projecting I feel like is going on here. Mjorn's like, yeah, everybody talks about my 2 best friends and the company that they made, and I feel like it's
Yeah,
more likely. No, I think everyone's probably talking about what Elon and the CEOs are up to, or hey, did you hear about what Vim did to his dad to take over the company? There's probably better juicy gossip in the business world. Hey, did you hear Sarius adopted an Earth kid? Like, that kind of shit. Not, hey, these 2 people that paint Gundams.
yeah. I would just call that again narration by perspective here. We
I
got
like,
Mjorn's perspective. Obviously, her friends are bigger in her
like
perspective.
I said, projecting.
Yeah.
She's projecting that they're more important than they are
What do you got
until
next?
proven otherwise. Sore throat for the rest of the day. That's what's got. As always, Vim is on the cutting edge of making the best mobile suit. Jet Turk has the best legally recognized mobile suit in the Darbalde, and in its back pocket, unknown by this episode, is a Gundam as well, the Schwartz. I think the Schwartz could probably defeat the Pharact as well as the Earth Gundams. Ariel would be the problem due to the whole data storm thing, but still, now Vim's collaborating with even this outside company. Who knows what's going on there?
That I have to say, Vim is a busy guy, isn't he? The more and more we learn about the Vim, the more he seems like he just is constantly spinning every single plate he can.
Where does he find time to have an affair?
Have an affair. He's just straight adopted. He skipped the whole affair.
No. Lada is the child of his mistress who left him, and his wife left him at the same time once she found out about the affair.
Actually, that's like very telling, isn't it? It's just like both of them get together and go, he's not paying much attention to either of us. I know you're the other woman in this, but maybe he's a dick who's too busy with everything else.
Well, I certainly said something about his dick. He has 2 kids with 2 different women.
Moving on from that.
I do think it's telling that Yushetas says that Gundam is supposed to be a weapon, reflecting his own thoughts, that she is going against what should be, that he too wants Gundam to be a weapon.
Yeah, that 100% checks out. We're getting information by the chosen language he uses when talking about it. Word choice.
Next section. Section 7. Yushetas Miruzahani. Yushetas's brother is in a mobile suit and receives information from his subordinates that Yushura is in the underground section of the front with a student from Astasia. Sorry. They mentioned that magnetic slime has been deployed to apprehend intruders, and they are currently on standby at the duel arena. Yushetas decides to break into the stone garden to handle the situation. In the provisional control room, Nika, Choo-Choo, and Yaya, that's almost funny to say out loud, are monitoring the situation when they detect a mobile suit outside the front. Yaya decides to activate the mass driver to intercept the intruders. Meanwhile, Suletta is seen skillfully moving in zero gravity, carrying Yushura at her side, and she receives a message from the Haru stick that Yushura is feeling faint, but has taken her medicine. Nika and Choo-Choo try to get in touch with Suletta, and Yaya requests her to take care of Yushura. Sorry, my brief break there was Choo-Choo and Yaya are just repetitive words or sounds. And Nika was almost falling into the scheme there, so it just sounded like I was gibbering.
So let's see. So what have we got about this? It's kind of a short chapter where they're just putting people into place, isn't it? And of course we have Yusheta in the Delonza just getting off the phone with Bjorn, which is the funny part. Goes straight from, oh yeah, I totally talked to my sister a minute. Tell you what, let's go ahead and have a great family meeting again later. Click. Alright. Time to go in.
Like I said, it would have been more convincing narratively to me if they just said, yeah, reception told me you called.
Mm-hmm. Then again, these are teenagers, so, shrug.
Alright, I hope you're braced for some of my pedantic nature.
Let's do it.
We are told that most of the infiltration team is apprehended by the magnetic slime. We are also told that there are 5 or so lights on the display showing how many intruders there are. Then we are told 5 people are trapped in the slime, so if the majority of them were captured, we can responsibly assume that there were 9 of them to begin with, 4 of them awaiting orders in the dueling arena now, which should have been right, but these people are not good at noticing dots on the display. 5 or so turned into 9, then Suletta and Yushura are getting chased by people who aren't the 4 previously mentioned, which means that 5 or so is obviously greater than 10.
I think because the fact we don't have a visual medium here, we can't look at the screen and notice everything. Yeah, we have no idea what the real count is, do we?
That's why I'm
or
working,
how many people are around, or which ones are there by different features and stuff.
That's why I'm working exactly on the words. Like I said, these people are not good at noticing dots on the display. They said 5 or so. 5 or so. You captured 5. What's the so part? That's almost another 5. How about 5 and then 5?
Oh, gosh. And the funny thing is, Choo-Choo's supposed to be a pilot. You think reading the radar would be one of her key skills, right?
One of them's an engineer. You'd think being able to read a display would be one of your skills.
In the future, computer literacy is still a severe problem.
Yaya's a bodyguard. You think she want to know how many people are coming?
Would be more familiar with the system she's using. Yeah, no, I think it's just silly, but it's a detail that is important, but we don't have the info apparently.
Look, Griff. If we were playing like D&D, right, and my character made an observation check, and I looked out the door, and I said, I think there's like 5 people out there trying to kill us, and then we opened the door to try and make our escape. Would you not be angry at me if there was double the amount of people that I told you were out there, or possibly more than that?
Yeah, Theta, you killed 5 or so goblins. It's like, but are all the goblins dead? Well, you killed 5 or so.
Yeah, I mean, but the
Weren't
moment
there only 5 in there? It's like, well, yeah, you killed 5 or so.
I poke my head out of the door, how many did I see? 5. Okay? Alright, guys, they're gonna break in here. Let's get ready for a fight. There's only 5 of them. Alright. Alright, 15 people charge into the door. Wait, what? You'd be having an argument with your DM at that point.
You know what? I gotta do that for perception checks. I gotta just straight up tell people, yeah, no, there's like 3 people there. I'm gonna use that in the future. Thanks, Theta.
I mean, your head poking out thing, at the very least, you can say, yeah, you saw 5 people in front and there was like 15 shorter people behind them. These are dots. Anyway.
Alright.
It is funny to think that Yushetas wants to create a mobile suit to defeat the Ariel while piloting a Dalanza. He's riding in the Jet Turk mobile suit, the #1 weapons company in the group, and the one he's currently working with, planning to do what they couldn't.
I guess maybe this ties further into the Vim wants a Gundam kind of plot. He does have like his own brand right now, but I mean nothing says that he doesn't want the Ariel so he can make an even better one.
No. You're misunderstanding. This is Yushetas, not Vim. Yushetas says he wants to build one that'll defeat the Ariel.
Right. I should clarify. It's my supposition that Yusheta is motivated by arrangements with Vim.
That's not how I read it.
Like I said, it's a supposition. It's a complete wild guess here that is a possibility.
Well, I mean, the point is that Vim is still alive by the point of the bonus novel, so not impossible that we could meet Vim.
Oh gosh, yes, we could get more Vim content. Let's go.
Also turns out, despite my going over the definition and use of a mass driver at the start of all this, we went ahead and used it like a weapon anyways.
That's the funny thing. It's like, it's supposed to be used as like ferrying things from one location to another. So I don't imagine it being like high enough energy to do a lot of damage or like unavoidable or anything. It's like throwing a soccer ball at a pursuer. It's like, sure, it'll slow him down, but I mean, they probably could sidestep it.
Well, just last time we went over the definition of what a what a mass driver was. And it can be used as a weapon or as a, movement device. And then here at the very beginning of this, we get the definition, which defines it as a device for moving objects, mostly for propulsion. And then here we are using it as a weapon anyway, defeating the entire discussion. And yes, it could be used as a very powerful weapon, Griff. It's basically just a giant railgun when you come down to how the mechanics of it work.
Right. It just sounds like it's not tuned up to be a weapon, and that their attempt was not a real attempt that would do damage. And they knew it.
I would argue against it, what your interpretation is, but I can't because it happens next section. So
yeah.
Any other thoughts?
No, it's a short section.
Section 8, Twins. Yaya and the others in the provisional control room use the mass driver to launch a transport container at the incoming mobile suit. However, the opposing suit, piloted by Yushetas Miruzahani, the CEO of Langlands Corporation, evades the container. Yushetas breaches the hangar and blocks Suletta's path, revealing that he is Yushura's older brother. Yushetas explains that he needs to examine Yushura due to an unfortunate circumstance, and 2 staff members from Langlands Corporation arrive to conduct the examination. Suletta expresses her concern for Yushura's well-being. Yushura finally wakes up and interacts with her brother and the Langlands staff. Then, a figure emerges and approaches Yushura, revealing themselves to be Yushura's fiancé. This revelation surprises Suletta, leaving her in shock.
Yeah. I think this all ties back around to the earlier statements of who's the real mastermind between the two twins. And it was supposed like, oh yeah, no, the engineer is. But I think like with all this new information dropping, it's obviously becomes Yusheta is kind of the mastermind of it, or he's like taking control of things by confining Yashura, putting her into like this arranged marriage here, and getting some political power out of it.
I just want to real quick address the thing that we left last section off on. That you were saying that the mass driver wasn't that big of a deal or something
Yeah.
like that. The point that I wanted to bring up here for this section is that they don't attribute the mass driver not being a powerful weapon or anything. They attribute it to Yoshida's having the agility and skill to get out of the way.
Hmm.
Right, so they put all the power on the pilot of the suit and not so much the weakness of the weapon.
Yeah, that's still fair. It would still be a dramatic moment, I think, if it was drawn. In text, we just got the text, and focusing on the pilot is probably the way to do it.
Alright, I have no idea why, other than knowing who the pilot is. Yaya would think having a cargo container launched at them at high velocity would be taken as nothing more than a bluff. I mean, not for nothing, but the container is described as being larger than the suit it's being aimed at. How about the fact that it's also technically a projectile weapon, which is illegal and now traveling forever until it hits a target somewhere in time?
Ah, you beat me to it. We have some Kessler syndrome going on. There's now a cargo container floating around in space that someone's gonna have to grab.
Well, it's not even floating, it's traveling at high velocity, which means
Hmm.
no telling what gravity it might be slingshotting around.
No telling if it might hit someone else in orbit. Hence the danger of Kessler syndrome, by the
We
way.
also don't even know what direction they were pointed at. They could have been pointed, vertical to the plane of the system, which means they're just firing off into deep space. We could have
Imagine
started
you're
an interstellar war.
Well, it would have to hit escape velocity is the thing there. And if it doesn't, imagine you're just on Earth, you're minding your own business, you're at home, you hear a crash outside, there's a gigantic crater, a cargo container from space has just landed suddenly. Where did it come from? Why has it got a broken mobile suit in it now?
Well, I can cut you off there. More likely scenario is that you hear a crash outside and you're dead. Because, once again, it was fired at high velocity. It is a rather large object. Momentum builds.
There's got to be a bit of a crater.
Yeah, it's basically a much, much, much smaller version of a rod from God.
But let's see. I think that's just about the mass driver. I think we have enough about that.
About what?
The mass driver.
Yeah, I know. I was about to move on. I thought you were about to say something else.
Yeah, I was about to say, let's move on.
Oh, I'm glad you interrupted me from moving on to tell me to move on.
Oh, Theta, by the
Good
way,
content.
time to move on.
I need to get like a giant cane or something, just like reach off from the side of the screen, pull me away. I think all companies in this setting are handed down familial lines. Vim got Jet Turk from his dad. Ghoul got it from Vim's death. Shadiq took over once he had kidnapped Sarius. The Miruzahani twins took over after their parents died. Gonna have to see if Yoshitas killed them, I guess, because he might just be that bad guy. The only reason Mjorn didn't immediately take over is because Delling was in charge of a conglomerate and not a single company. I imagine that if Mjorn hadn't dissolved Benerit and its holdings, Suletta could have taken over Shinsei when Prospera got infirm.
Hmm. That seems pretty accurate. Given the apparent scope and scale and control these businesses have, I would see no reason why someone controlling it wouldn't be like, I am going to make sure my children are trained and ready to take over my business, which has enormous political sway over the entire world.
I mean, that's what Vim was
And that's
doing.
what the academy's for, right?
Well, that's what Vim was doing. He was taking Ghoul out of the school to put him into a position in the company where he could then learn to
Hmm.
do business rather than look, man, you're not going to win any more piloting shit. I've realized this. You've lost 3 to 4 times in a row. And that's when he's like, no, I'm not going to do what you tell me. Change my name to Bob. This is the mature thing to do because I'm a mature adult.
Oh gosh, the more you say it like that, the more it's like, oh gosh, they are such teenagers, aren't they? They put on better serious faces in the future, but they're still teens.
I mean, at the very least, they don't name the companies after them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, it's not Mercury Corporation, it's Shinsei Development. It's
Yeah.
not, well, I guess technically it is Jeturk Heavy Machinery, but I guess can't go wrong there. It is 3 generations of Jeturk so far. Who knows how far
It's the
back?
family name, yeah, of course.
And we don't know if the 4 CEOs are sisters or not. Maybe their last name is Peel.
Didn't we actually don't we have their last names too, or am I
No, we got
mistaken?
one names. They're like Madonna. They're
Okay, okay.
mono. I don't know what you call it, mono name. Mono named, I guess.
But are they the ones that are actually in charge and own it, or is it Elon who's in charge and owns
They're
it?
listed as co-CEOs. Master Elin
Okay.
has actually no rank within the company that we're ever told. He just
Oh, okay.
quits. He just quits. All we know is that he was hired, and that's why he quits. They're the CEOs. They run it, and they basically follow what their company AI tells them to do.
Hmm.
So,
Okay.
so basically, I guess it's CEOs, AI, and then Elon maybe. For all we know, Elon could be under Belmeria, and just Belmeria is such a timid individual.
Oh gosh, no. Teal Corporation is a cluster. That's all I'm gonna say.
Well, it got dissolved, so it's nothing anymore.
Hey, there you go.
If Yushetas is supposed to be anything close to a good guy, I doubt he'd be firing unrestricted beams without a second thought into a hangar bay his sister is in, exposing her to the possibility of being sucked out into the vacuum of space.
He's literally infiltrating the location that she's gone to, conducting like a operation with armed people. Yeah, no, he's not a good guy.
Well, there's a difference between like being forceful with good intentions and literally, hey Griffin, you're on the other side of this wall, right?
Yeah, just hit the full lotto. It'll be fine. I'll Pulp Fiction it.
And then having that other side of that wall also being deep space, right? Like,
Mhm.
I don't know if my sister is even in this room, or if she's wearing a spacesuit, or anything. I know she's on the other side of this wall, but I don't know if she's in a spacesuit. I also don't know how close she is to the wall, or her relative, anything. I'm just gonna
Oh yeah.
open fire, and create a hole big enough for this 2-story, 3-story mobile suit to walk through. Hope nothing bad happens. Hope I don't kill
Hope,
you like I killed my parents.
sure hope the explosive debris doesn't do anything bad to you.
I'm just saying, it's no chance he's a good guy after that.
Hmm.
You don't shoot up a wall not knowing.
He is at minimum antagonist energy right now.
Thought occurs to me: if Yushida's suit is covered in magnetic paint particles, that would seem to be a massive weakness if the anime episodes are to be believed. Remember that Farak's entire game plan against Ghouls Delanza was to kick up magnetic dust that slowly shut it down? Apparently, the stuff can be hacked, basically coating yourself in your own weakness.
I guess that's on the same level of if you're in a fight, are you hacking your gun to your opponent's mobile suit, or are you trying to shoot
Do
it?
you not remember how the entire series ended?
Oh, I know, and that's because Prospera is a special girl. That's what it comes down to.
No, no, I said they hacked the Quiet Zero. Like they remember we had a whole
Mhm.
conversation about Roji just like called somebody and they like a whole data center that starts hacking Quiet Zero.
Yeah,
Like we never discussed it. It just we now see that it's being hacked like every one of its nodes. It's like
it's there, like it has been the whole time.
so I just assume that everyone's always being hacked at all times, like the world right now. You can go to one of those websites and seeing where DDoS attempts are being made and everything. We're
Hmm.
always under attack by everyone everywhere online. So I just
Yeah.
assume that maybe some mobile suits have like electronic countermeasures and electronic countermeasures.
Who's going to have a countermeasure to the novel technology that only you have?
Your competition probably. We
If they
already
know
know.
about it.
Well, corporate espionage. This seems like the world that's built for that kind of shit.
Oh,
I'd
oh, oh,
half
perfectly.
expect like the next if there's another Godzilla series, corporate espionage be the big thing. Like
Hmm.
I'm not even a mobile suit pilot. I'm just a goon here in this company who is actually working for that company over there. And oh no, looks like I'm stealing this Gundam because that's what happens a lot of times. You never start off as the pilot. You just end up as the one.
Gosh, stealing mobile suits is basically canon to all of Gundam.
Here's one of my favorite comments. Suletta, pre-episode 10, shouting dangerous at a mobile suit swiping its hand out in front of her is a bit ironic.
Oh gosh, yes. No, that is like planting the seed, isn't it?
It's just, it's a bit ironic that you would say this is dangerous considering what you're bound to do.
Suletta immediately in the moment goes, "What's the most dangerous thing I can do for this person threatening Bjorn?" I know, waves hand.
Yeah, just her remembering, oh shit, what did this other person do to stop other people from getting in front of them? Oh, that's right, the hand of the gun. Oh shit, his was sideways. Too late.
Oh, there you
Oh,
go.
that's even more damning. That she had seen somebody do it effectively without killing somebody, and then she went all murder slap.
Let's see. What else we got for this section?
It seems clear that Yashura ran off to do this thing that she was set up in the first chapter, uh, that we never really got to finish due to her brother's interruption. Obviously, I've thrown out the idea that she's dying, but the idea that she's been on the run this whole time with only the help of Yaya and concerned twin has been chasing her. It feels like a forced marriage is taking place, and Yashura wanted to see Bjorn one more time before it happened.
Right. I think there's also maybe the context of like maybe if she tries to win this duel, she could like go ahead and get the arranged marriage with Bjorn, pulling herself out of the other one, which is hilarious to think that she could make it happen. But I guess it's also like a desperate gambit too. She's running away from all this, and they caught up to her.
Well, we know that she can't because she's not part of the school. So she can't win a duel here with Suletta to somehow become Mjorn's bride. Or, yeah, or fiance, whichever one they want to take up. But also, that's not the terms that they agreed on anyway.
I've forgotten the terms already. It also didn't conclude anyway.
Well, the original term that she wanted was that they would all stay on the Yashura's theme park, let's say, forever and
Hmm.
never go back. And then I think they changed it to okay, you'll win my ship, or I'll send Nika and Choo Choo home and you stay.
Hmm.
But it was never, hey, give up Mjorn. Mjorn never came into the bet.
Right. So it's interesting to consider what her motives and goals are in like doing all of this. I think is the idea then to use Suletta and the other students as a tool to bring Bjorn into the action. I don't know.
I don't know either because she immediately pivots from the whole I've come to see Mjorn to I actually came to see you, Suletta. But then again, we know that we know that Yushura could never contact Mjorn in the first place. So it's
Mhm.
entirely possible she was coming to see Suletta to contact Mjorn for her. I guess.
Uh, I think the entire fact that like they point out, oh, by the way, you can see who your mutual contacts are thing is entirely setting up that Yashura is trying to send a message to Mjorn and generally cannot. Hence the like Delling prevented me from ever doing it kind of deal.
Right.
So I think that probably covers that section in particular.
Yep.
All right, so what do we got for the chapter as a whole? What do you think? Good time, great time, amazing time?
You know, something I do with the OOF reaction stuff is that I give it a score, right?
Okay.
Something out of 10. Let's backtrack a little bit here. Uh, if you were going to score the first bonus chapter, not this one, but the first one, what would you give it?
The first bonus chapter, I would probably give like a 6 or a 7, just based on like it is establishing a new conflict and it is an intriguing kind of mystery.
I think I would give the one that we reacted to a 4 out of 10 because it
Oh, the
was.
one we reacted to for sure.
Yeah, it was. I appreciated having it, but I don't understand why it exists. Why there was a summary made of a thing that you clearly translated but didn't. Okay. As a whole, I don't know, 6 out of 10. What did you give it?
I was going for a 6 or a 7.
Okay, so say 6.5. Call it middle.
Sure.
All right, and what would you rank this one then?
I would probably rank it up a point higher. So I would put this up to an 8. I am heavily invested in the action. I got to see things I didn't normally do. And we're getting a lot more Bjorn background, which is stuff we didn't get in the anime. I'm highly interested in this content.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I go a 7 out of 10. It
Mhm.
is I feel like it's better put together than your the first bonus chapter. At the same time, though, it still feels like it's the setup stages. Like, I know we've
Yeah.
gotten a bit of the action, but it doesn't feel like it's the final release of everything that's being built up. Plus, we
Mhm.
still have to combine the Mjorn aspect of things with the amusement park side of things. So I feel like that's
Yeah.
really going to be where it kicks off to be better.
If I were to put it into words, like the first chapter, the bonus chapter here, feels like a radical departure from everything else. It feels almost out of place, which I guess is kind of the intention. We had like the whole Willy Wonka comparison for Yashura earlier, when we were talking about it in the first place. And this chapter is bringing that back down to reality, where Yashira is not some mad genius amusement park owner, but a girl who is currently in the middle of dealing with this persistent disease, dealing with an arranged marriage, trying to get all the way, and just trying to have some fun. So our perception of this character is different from chapter 1 to chapter 2 here, like in a very drastic manner.
I wouldn't say drastic. I mean, I think I was pointing out during the chapter 1 stuff that the park is empty. She's clearly doing something off on her own. She
Hmm.
feels just as desperate. She's clearly in control in the first chapter, but she feels just as desperate then to do something, and we just can't figure out what it is, as she feels here. So it doesn't feel like that far of a departure from me. It just seems like the scenario of her being in control has changed.
Right, the masquerade is gone, essentially.
Right, but like I said, I was labeling her from the beginning as being desperate for some reason. I was calling disease back then, and it clearly is disease of some sort. But
Oh yeah, the introduction of like the Haro staff and everything was like a big giveaway for that. But yeah, no, I've definitely enjoyed my experience reading these bonus chapters, and it looks like we're gonna have a third just to wrap it up.
I don't know how far this goes. It might go as far as the novelization continues, in which case
Mhm.
I'm I haven't actually started getting into the novel itself yet because I was saving that as like personal material to be able
Yeah.
to read once we've really truly run out of Witch from Mercury content. But
I feel like there's got to be a lot of novelization, though, because like this feels to me like an episode that would exist in a 25 episode season.
well, what I'm saying is that I don't know what episode the novelization is up to yet.
Mm-hmm.
If I knew that, I could say, okay, well, if the novelization's up to this far and we're 2 in on bonus chapters, that would equal out to this many exactly bonus chapters by the time we reach episode 24. I could just do the math, but I don't know where we're at because I'm not spoiling myself for any minute bonus material that might exist in the novel.
Just a single crumb of Witch from Mercury, please.
That's all we
sir,
got left.
Have some more.
Might be all we got left for like maybe 3 to 4 years, if they are planning to do something within the next year or so. We wouldn't probably see that for 3 or 4 years. So it could be all that we're left with is I've got the novelization to read, and then maybe watch it in English just to appreciate how good the Japanese dub was.
So I guess that's kind of what we'll leave it off for today, then, I think. Come back in 3 to 4 years for Witch from Mercury, but keep coming back sooner than that for more novelization.
And manga.
Right?
And other shows that we do here. Don't let Griff just sell you off on the channel. Keep coming back. We do episode uploads daily.
This is why you're the salesman and I'm not.
I'm not the salesman. People hate me.
Exactly, like a salesman. So, everybody, this has been Stoneface Reactions. I'm Griffin. That's Theta down there. And we'll catch you next time. See you around. Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stoneface Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe and let us know what you thought about this video and what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?